What's going on? It's your man Jose, aka the Dominican Dream, for the Boxing Roundtable, and I am ready to talk boxing. This week we have the return of Shakur Stevenson, highly talented, well-known fighter, even by the youngins coming up now. He's one of the fighters most well-known in this younger generation after Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Shakur's right behind those guys. I don't know, I'm not too sure of his nickname, but you can call him the Road Runner or the Rabbit, whatever you like. However, he is a very talented fighter, at least athletically. And he is facing Artem Harutyunyan, that fighter that gave Frank Martin all he could handle a few fights ago, right before he fought Giovanni Tank Davis, I believe. He is Armenian, and he fights out of Germany. On that card, we also have O'Shaquie Foster versus the always durable, tough, but not power-punching Robson Conceicao out of Brazil. And what should be at least an interesting and somewhat entertaining fight for the hardcore fans. On that card, there's also two showcase fights. We have the return of Keyshawn Davis and Abdullah Mason. They're both fighting some, I think one is fighting a short order cook and the other one's fighting a construction worker. But nonetheless, they are coming back, and they are back in action to showcase their talents on top-ranked ESPN Plus, who, they do give us solid cards and, pretty stacked cards. They know how to build fighters over there, and that's what they're doing with these guys. Also, I have to mention the return of William El Camarón Zepeda versus Giovanni Cabrera on DAZN, an all-Mexican affair. Giovanni Cabrera, whose name I mixed up here later on in the video with, I kept calling him Giovanni Segura, and his last name is Cabrera. William Zepeda is William Zepeda Segura. And anyway, I didn't remember the name well, but I definitely remembered the fighter, Cabrera, that fighter that last fought Isaac Pitbull Cruz and gave him a tough fight, tough night out. But later on in the video, I get into that fight. Don't miss that fight. It is an all-action Mexican fighter, and William Zepeda against Giovanni Cabrera, and what should be another interesting fight on Saturday night. But let's go on and break down the Shakur Stevenson versus Artem Harutyunyan fight. Shakur Stevenson has two choices in this fight: either impress or impress. That's it. That's all he can do. Similar to Teofimo Lopez, who should have impressed against his last opponent in Steve Claggett, but failed to do so. He won. Yes, he showed his athleticism, some of his ability, but nothing to rave over. Shakur Stevenson is coming off of a career low, at least in popularity. A very unpopular performance, an infamous performance against the Dominican Elvin de los Santos, La Granada, in a fight that, most people couldn't wait for it to be over. Both guys showed athleticism, but it was overall just a horrible fight. I think for a championship fight, it broke a record for the least punches either thrown or landed by both opponents. Listen, a guy that was being hyped up and is still being hyped up and is highly touted, he has to put on a great performance. However, he does have another fighter who is, in my opinion, tailor-made for him in Artem Harutyunyan. Yes, he is a tough fighter. He gave Frank Martin, who is a very good fighter, a tough fight. But remember, styles make fights. I think that the lack of volume, and I think just the lack of athleticism by Artem, very basic fighter, nothing flashy at all, doesn't have the greatest power in the world, maybe some decent pop, doesn't have the greatest speed, doesn't have the greatest boxing ability. So his performance is he's going to be handicapped basically against a guy with the athleticism of Shakur Stevenson. So I don't want to hear nobody raving about how Shakur schooled him and how Frank didn't. He had a tough fight with him. Blah, blah, blah. Remember, styles make fights. When he fought a fast, quick-handed, fast reflex opponent in Eridson de los Santos with power, he showed us that he's not ready for the Giovanni Davis of the world. He might not even be ready for the Ryan Garcias, because those guys, that's another guy with speed and power. I'm not talking about boxing ability. I'm talking about firepower. When you have another guy in there who's just as fast as you, but can put your lights out with any punch, things are different. Artem Harutyunyan doesn't possess that kind of ability. You know, he's a guy that's there. You know, he's basic, he's tough, but tough don't win fights against elite fighters. Tough means the guy that fought Rubesi Benitez, he was tough, but he got his ass whooped. He didn't win a round. So tough doesn't mean anything. So yeah, Harutyunyan is tough, but stylistically, he doesn't have the style to match up against Shakur Stevenson. So because he doesn't really match up against Shakur Stevenson, I think that Shakur Stevenson is going to be able to have his way with him. Shakur's talking about he's gonna step to the guy, and he's gonna show people that he can box, that he can be defensive while staying in the pocket. You know, that he can be defensive and he can answer back. Yeah, you're gonna be able to do that against this guy, because this guy doesn't have anything to respond with. He don't got those fast twitch muscles. He don't got those reflexes. He don't got that speed or the dangerous power like De Los Santos did to knock you out. So in front of De Los Santos, he didn't do it, and he won't. You know, so I don't think that him stepping to this guy, fighting in the pocket, and, you know, being able to out maneuver him, out hustle him on the inside, that's not gonna prove anything to me, because I know better than that. I know that he's stylistically tailor-made for Shakur. So I expect Shakur to win this fight. I think a stoppage is possible, but you know, based on the sharp shooting, again, it's not so much Shakur's not a power puncher, but when you're a sharp shooter and you have great technique like he does, and you have fast punches and well played, just technically, you know, beautiful punches. It's about technique. Knocking people out is not only about power, but about technique as well. You know, I can see him just you know, putting too much punishment on Harutyunyan, and Harutyunyan not being able to respond. And because of that, you know, if he's not able to respond, he's not able to get his off, and he's, you know, having these fast punches come his way and continue to tag him up, he could be stopped based on accumulation. You know, also the punches that you don't see can hurt you. So I can see Stevenson stopping Harutyunyan, but I'm gonna go with Stevenson by decision. But for Shakur to impress the boxing world, he would have to come out and literally just obliterate Harutyunyan, and I don't think that's something that he's gonna do. Not in the early rounds. He has to put damage on him. I think he has to put damage on him. Although that speed, you know, speed kills, so he can't stop him. Anyway, you know, after this fight, he should move up to 140 pounds. He's got 135 pounds. I don't think there's anyone for him to fight except Tank Davis, and that fight isn't happening. Now, if he doesn't impress, and if he puts on another dud, whew, he's in big trouble with the boxing public. His stock has already gone down, and I think it will plummet much further down if he is to put on another dud and another De Los Santos-like performance. Shakur Foster versus Robson Conceicao. Tough fight. I give Foster the power edge. I think he's the bigger, stronger guy, but I think Conceicao is you know, has the better boxing ability, the better technique. He might be a little long in the tooth now. I think he's been through the gauntlet a little bit. You know, he still might be hungry, or he still might just come to get a payday. He might think he has something left, and when he shows up, he might realize that he doesn't. I'm going to go with Shakur Foster by decision. William Zepeda versus Giovanni Segura. Interesting fight. Entertaining fight. I think that Zepeda is going to win that fight by decision. He can knock out with accumulation. He can knock out Segura, But Segura, either, I think Pitbull did have a bad performance that night. I can't see Giovanni actually knocking him out. But I think Giovanni is, if Segura is as tough as we think, being that he lasted 12 rounds with Pitbull, he can last 12 rounds with Zepeda. But I think those were different circumstances. So you know what? I am going to go with Giovanni by, I am going to go with winner Zepeda by late stoppage. Anyway, let me know what you guys think regarding this weekend's fights. You already know. Share, like, subscribe. Your man, the Dominican Dream. Shout out to the Boxing Maniac. This is the Boxing Roundtable.